to discuss further the situation up north in our country, Avraham Levine from the ALMA Center for Research and Education. They are geopolitical specialists in the north and all the countries that we have, all the enemy countries, unfortunately, that we have to our northern border. Avraham, thank you so much for being on the quad.
My pleasure.
Avraham, make some sense for us, please. What's going on? I think that the whole world is very much focused on Gaza, as we were. And every single day we hear that the threat is more and more imminent of war with the north of Israel, war coming from, of course, the Hezbollah forces that have taken over Lebanon. And God knows if it could actually spread to a regional war with Iran. Of course, we know as the sponsor, the supplier of Hezbollah. Please make a little bit of order in our heads. What's going on and what do you predict will happen?
Well, I think first things first, I think we have to emphasize the fact that we've been in war with Hezbollah for the past 8 months. They started a day or two after Hamas, but they've been attacking with mortars, missiles, rockets, tens of times every day, 200 times a month, every month, steady stream of rockets all across the north. And that's one of the reasons we were forced to evacuate the 60,000 people that are all of the communities basically along the border with Lebanon, along the blue line. I'd add to that these 43 communities, now ghost towns, for the past 8 months, they don't even have a clear future of when to come back. And that's the situation we're in right now. And I think Hezbollah want us to be the aggressor, or at least perceived as the aggressor. And I hear Israel might start a preemptive attack, which is ridiculous considering thousands of rockets have been shot into the north, and it will still be considered around the world as a preemptive strike against Lebanon. Putting that aside, I don't see this happening necessarily today or tomorrow, but I think Israel is looking for a way to bring our people back home. And if we're forced, it will require a ground maneuver.
I totally agree with you, Avraham, on a few counts. First of all, we are at war with Hezbollah, with Lebanon. Preemptive strike is the last thing that it should be called, but you know what the world media is like, and you know what the narrative is like. Avraham, do you see a situation where this could conflagrate into a regional war with Iran if it actually gets going, where, let's say, some of the Western powers like the United States will get dragged in?
I think that's the main concern we hear from the United States. I think when we see United States really intervening only when Iran attacked directly in that Saturday night several weeks ago already, I think that was the most aggressive United States was in the region, and I think that's their main concern. Hezbollah, Nasrallah, has said several times in his latest speeches that he will not require Iran to join in, that he does not want more people to join in. This is on him. He could do this on his own. But can I see a scenario that Iran doesn't go directly, but rather use more of the Shiite militias in Syria? Definitely. Do I see the Houthis join in? Of course. Iraqi militias that shoot UAVs and have shot UAVs from Iraq to the Golan Heights? Of course. I see many of the proxies being activated in that case. Iran would be a big leap that I think they'll try to avoid unless this is a real all-out war.
And let's talk about Lebanon for a second. You guys at ALMA specialists also on Lebanon. You know, Hezbollah has taken over practically this country, but it's still a sovereign country of Lebanon. Are there any voices within Lebanon trying to marginalize or trying to control or trying to do something about Hezbollah having taken over and ruined their country?
I get this question also about Iran, and there's a lot of voices in Iran as voices in Lebanon that are against the current direction of the regime in Iran or Hezbollah in Lebanon. But the question is, do they have enough power to make a difference? Can they make a change? And quite frankly, I'm pessimistic on that front. I don't see anyone directly confronting Hezbollah, not the Lebanese army, not other parties that do not have any military force and don't have the ability. I think we've passed that line, and I think Hezbollah today is the strongest power, and really don't have to follow any pressure or react to any internal pressure in Lebanon. When we saw any major move in Lebanon, the latest one, I guess, would be the maritime border negotiations. We're sure that Hezbollah signed off on the agreement before the government said, okay, we'll run with it. A president in Lebanon, they still haven't chosen one because Hezbollah didn't agree to one. So I think we can't really take that internal pressure and consider that one of the main players in the game.
And maybe, Avram, for our audience to understand who is Hezbollah and the power that they have in terms of the military power. Because what we've seen is Hamas, but Hezbollah is 10 times more powerful, more armed, more weapons. It's got more missiles than a small country. Maybe give us a little bit of a description of what exactly the threat from Hezbollah is and who they are.
So let's start from Lebanon first. In Lebanon, Hezbollah is a legal party for many, many years, one of the two Shiite parties in the Lebanese government. They are a social organization that supports their people in all aspects of life: health, education, religion, building another floor in your house. Everything in South Lebanon and the Shiite villages is taken care of by Hezbollah. Gas stations, COVID vaccinations, anything you think that your government should be supporting and giving you, Hezbollah, every time they have an opportunity, take over another branch and support their people. And that's how their people see themselves, as Hezbollah. On the military side, their strongest weapon is the artillery. And they have, as you said, way more than Hamas, more accurate than Hamas, longer range than Hamas. We're talking 150,000 short-range mortars, which is a number that they can keep up the current pace for months easily. We don't see them slowing down at all. In terms of the mortars, the short-range statistical weapon, the cheapest one that they can probably keep on producing in Lebanon and do not need much from the outside. The more accurate weapons they're keeping for the next step. What is working well for them against us in the north is the UAVs, the Irani UAVs that Iran supplied to Hezbollah, to the Shiite militias in Iraq, to Russia as well against Ukraine, and to Venezuela, are the ones that are getting through, passing the Iron Dome. They fly too slow and too low for the Iron Dome to detect and take them down. And they've had several successes against us in the past couple of months, as well as the anti-tank missiles that are longer range than we're used to seeing. In 2006, they had the 4-kilometer, 5-kilometer range. Today, it's double that, maybe triple that with the Cornet and the Almas. And they're hitting us in various spots in civilian areas and military bases all across the north.
Avraham, you paint a very depressing picture for a potential all-out war with Hezbollah. What do you predict?
Well, I'm trying not to use a crystal ball every morning and thinking what's tomorrow, but I would say this: I do not see a way to bring our people back home without a military maneuver, ground maneuver at some aspect. I don't know if an all-out war. I hope it could be contained to South Lebanon, and a shorter operation would be better. But I do not see any piece of paper, peace agreement with Lebanon as something that will have any effect on Hezbollah. I do not see any deterrence on Hezbollah apart from us activating our troops and making at least a contained move against Hezbollah so they know what happens if they attack.
And Avram, do you think that ultimately what we will end up having to do, and hopefully not on our own, is to deal with regime change in Iran? Because as long as they're there supplying, sponsoring, encouraging, we're never going to get rid of these threats unless the head of the snake is being dealt with. And if we do deal with Iran, or the world deals with Iran, then Hezbollah is much, much less of a strategic threat to Israel.
I think you hit the spot when you added the world. I think Iran is not only an agent of terror in the Middle East. I think Iran is an agent of terror, of chaos, of weapons in Europe and South America and all over the Middle East. And I think the whole world should be thinking, how do we stop this regime from continuing and reaching what we didn't even speak about today, nuclear ability? And I think that's something that Israel shouldn't be singled out or thinking to do on their own. I think that would be something that would completely block any real cooperation with the rest of the world. And I think we should be cooperating with the world on that field. And I think that's a good way to think about it. Of let's go for Iran instead of trying to stop each proxy at a time, starting with Hamas. Step 2 is Hezbollah. Step 3 is Syria and Iraq. Step 4 is Houthis. And we see how this is not working, not slowing them down one bit. Israel has been attacking in Lebanon many times in the past 8 months, for the first time since 2006, and doing well in a sense. We've been hitting commanders of Hezbollah, soldiers, fighters of Hezbollah. But on the other hand, I don't see one ability that we really took off the table. I don't see any limits that we're putting on Hezbollah. They're still managing to attack whenever they want, to wherever they want in the north. And I think it's just a matter of their decision when they, for them to make a move and hit Haifa next and Tveria, and obviously Tel Aviv would be the holy grail.
Yeah. Well, it just seems like we're playing a game of whack-a-mole with the proxies of Iran. And until we deal with Iran, we're going to be stuck in this horrific loop. Thank you so much, Avraham, for making things clear for us. And thank you for the incredible work that you're doing up there in the north, researching, educating people, doing incredible visits as well. Thank you, Avraham.
My pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.